Hello aspirants, very warm welcome to you all. My name is Madhusudan Reddy and in today's session we shall be covering up our theme number 8, which is biogeography. In the initial classes itself I have told you that entire geography can be divided into physical geography and human geography. Within the physical geography it is geomorphology, climatology, oceanography, biogeography. Now this is also part of your physical geography, but it has linkages with soil. It has linkages with vegetation and little environmental angle also it is included here. So we shall be covering up the biogeography plus the environmental related content also we'll be covering up in this particular session itself. Right? Now in the NCERTs, where do you get to see the content with respect to biogeography? Biogeography includes, as I already said, soil hai, vegetation hai, animals also, life forms also. So let's quickly look into the chapters that you're going to study here are number 1. Go to class 6. In the class 6, chapter number 5, that is major domains of the earth. See, if you're following the old NCERT or new NCERT, whatever the NCERT is, I want you to look into the names of the chapters. The name of the chapter is more or less the same. Okay? The names of the chapters is what you have to look into. It is first is major domains of the earth. We have also covered this major domains of the earth chapter in the previous cases as well, like in climatology we have looked into. That is about what is biosphere, what is the hydrosphere, lithosphere, right? We have looked into, right? Biosphere, lithosphere, as well as the hydrosphere, water, atmosphere, biosphere. So in totality, we have to look into this. Next, chapter number 6 from class 7, that is natural vegetation and wildlife. So natural vegetation and wildlife. So this vegetation is dependent upon the, again, monsoons. If you understand monsoons well, you will also understand natural vegetation very well. Now, whatever the vegetation is there, vegetation will also decide what kind of life forms you need to be there. For example, if the trees are not there, there are only grasses. Will you find monkeys there? You will not find monkeys there. Rather, you will find such a kind of animals which are grass-eating animals, right? If there are tall trees if they are there, there are animals which are living on the arboreal, which are living on the tree. Those animals will be high. If there are only grass that is present in the grasslands, the monkeys will not be there. Like different kinds of species will be there. That is dependent upon the vegetation itself. And wildlife relationship is there. Come to class number 11, chapter number 15 and chapter number 16. This is little advanced chapter. It talks about what is a biosphere reserve, what is the biodiversity, how the conservation of biodiversity can be taken. So more or less, this is one area where you are going to get a dynamic content. Dynamic content means alone reading NCERT, you will not be having a good understanding. You should completely rely upon this particular class, understand the basics here, and then go and read the chapters if you have time, right? So this class is more important for you than reading those chapters. No doubt, इसमें कुछ factual content होता है, but whatever the way I am going to drive this particular lecture is the key that you have to take away from this classroom, right? Okay. Apart from this, I'll also add soils here. The soils chapter, which is there in your geography, which is part of the Indian geography, that is soils. You are also supposed to cover the soils in the biogeography itself. This is where you will get a beautiful understanding about the soils as well, right? So I'm also going to cover up the chapter of soils here itself. Now come to the chapters. Let me quickly show you what are all these chapters. See, first go and look into the class 6, that is natural vegetation and wildlife. In this particular chapter, the mentionings are what are the different types of vegetation that you will get to see in Himalayas. Likewise, you will also get to see the thorny shrubs in deserts, desert vegetation. Next, what kind of forest do we have? It is tropical evergreen forest. And how does this evergreen forest look? And how many layers are there? You will also have tropical deciduous forests. That means your forests are going to be of different types. Temperate evergreen forests, temperate deciduous forests, then Mediterranean vegetation. Now let me write it here. Here it says that our forests which are there, there can be tropical forests and there can be temperate forests, right? Within this tropical forest, you have evergreen and you have deciduous. Likewise, you have evergreen and deciduous. Right. Next, come to the other forest. Mediterranean vegetation you have. You need to know about that, and coniferous vegetation. So other vegetations are coniferous vegetation, right? So in a nutshell, you also need to know grasslands. Where are these grasslands present? They are also present in tropical area. They are also present in temperate area. How these grasslands are different from each other and what kind of life forms you will find in the polar region. This is what is mentioned in this particular chapter, right? So this is nothing but the tundra. So here, can I say that you have a tundra type of vegetation? You also have grasslands. These grasslands, can I say, then other type of vegetation here is, can I put it like this? Grasslands, and here also can I add grasslands, and the last type, can I say it is tundra vegetation? So in a nutshell, the chapter says that you need to know about 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 different types of vegetations. In this, what kind of animals are present in which area? Okay? What kind of animals are present in which area? That is what is natural vegetation and wildlife. For example, you go to the polar region. In the polar region, especially near to the tundra region, the animals will have thick fat. They have very thick fat. So the thick fat animals, they obviously have this thick fat to protect themselves from the cold. What are the animals that are found here? Walrus, seals and polar bears. Right? I'll tell you how they live. ठीक है, हाइबरनेशन के बारे में सुना होगा, एस्टिवेशन के बारे में सुना होगा. You might have also heard about the summer sleep. You might have heard about the winter sleep, coldness, warmness. How do they react? And so these are some things that you need to know. Look here, there are some names that are given to your grasslands. These names are tropical grasslands and temperate grasslands. These names can sometimes be directly asked in the examination. Right? Tropical grasslands and temperate grasslands, they can be asked in the examination. So when you look into these tropical grasslands, these are present in areas of the tropical areas, right? Let me show you where exactly are they present. If you take the entire world, here you need to know that these grasslands are present in areas of the tropical region. This is your tropical region. Equator hai, and this is your tropical region, right? The grasslands which are present in Africa, they are called as savanna. Okay, this is a tropical grassland. Now come to India. In India also you find a grassland by the name Bunny. This is Bunny grassland which is present in India. Now which tribal community is present in the Bunny grasslands? Please let me know in the comment section, or please let me also know. You can drop me a message as well. Which tribal communities are present in the Bunny grasslands? And in which state? It is present in the Rajasthan and Gujarat bordering areas. These are your tropical grasslands. Now let me take you to the Brazil area. Here in Venezuela and in Brazil, you find the Campos and Llanos. These are the two tropical grasslands. So can I say that what are the tropical grasslands that you are going to get to see here? The tropical grasslands are, which you get to see here is, one is Bunny grasslands in India. See, in one single page also you can write it down so that it acts as a revision chart for you. Bunny grasslands in India. Then you have Campos and Llanos in South America. Then you have savanna in Africa. So these two are in South America. That is, one is in Brazil and the other is in the Venezuela. Right? Can I say? So first go and look into the NCERT that you have opened here. Campos and Llanos. Campos are in Brazil, Llanos are in Venezuela. Now come to temperate grasslands. Firstly, let's try to understand how the grasslands of tropical regions and temperate regions are there. See, temperate grasslands are present in areas which are present north. See, they are present in the northern latitudes. That means they are not present in the tropical areas. They are present in somewhere in the temperate areas. Right? These are your tropical grasslands. So usually, where do you find more sunlight? The sunlight is more in tropical areas. जहाँ sunlight ज़्यादा होता है ना, वहाँ पे growth of vegetation will be good as compared to the areas which are not having sunlight. The primary source for all the vegetation and the wildlife, the energy which is there, the primary source of energy for the world itself comes from the sunlight. So the availability of sun which is there, ये जो sunlight है ना slanting में जाता है near to the poles and it is coming directly near to the equator and the tropics. So that's why at one or other point of time you have good amount of sunlight. The growth is good if the water availability is good. देखो, for example, if the water availability is very good, the growth will be like this. Let's say good amount of water will be there, the growth of vegetation will be good. If you have little less water, then the growth will be good, but in seasons it will shed its leaves. Right? The growth will be decent, but it will shed its leaves. And if the water is good and sunlight is good, soil is good, this is the area where you will have evergreen vegetation. And this evergreen vegetation is going to have layered forest. Layered forest means they have multiple layers across. You have a shrub layer at the bottom, you have a mid layer, you have a tall layer, there are creepers. Creepers are nothing but those plants which take the support of another plant and climb up to the higher heights so that they need sunlight. Likewise, good rain. This is good rain, good vegetation. Limited availability of water like this. If you're not having more water and little less water, the quality of the soil is also dependent and it is seasonal. So here you're going to have grasslands. यहाँ पे होगा grasslands. Here you're going to have grasslands. Right? So these grasslands can be present in the tropical areas and they can be present in temperate areas. Right? So the names of these tropical grasslands which I have already shown, it is in India also you have Bunny grasslands. Likewise, these grasslands on an average they'll have 2 meters of height. 2 to 4 meters of height they'll have. Right? 2 to 4 meters of height. So, but if you go to the temperate area, the height of the grasses is less than 2 meters. Maximum height itself is 1.5 to 2 meters. Maximum I'm talking about. मतलब height थोड़ा कम है. क्यों कम है? पानी का limitation, the water availability is little less, but sunlight availability is also less. So that's why the growth is stunted. Right? So the grasslands which are there in the temperate region, they'll have little less height. Okay, come back. Now let me show you the different kinds of vegetations here. Look at this particular vegetation. So this is an example of tropical evergreen vegetation. That is when you have good availability of water, and this will give you a tree. This tree is going to have at the surface, you'll have shrubs. You'll have shrub layer, and little high 5 meters tak you'll have a different tree. Because water availability is there and sunlight is also plenty, but a tree which has grown till the top, this will start to block the sunlight. Now, because there are competition, there is a lot of competition that is going on in the evergreen forest. There is a lot of competition which is going on at the equator. Equator pe sun is also there. You will also have good rains at equator. And when you have these two things, the plants will be very happy to grow. So one tree which has grown till the height of 60 meters, this 60-meter tree, it spreads all the canopy. And if the sunlight is not given, there will be another tree which finds its way and then it creeps out. Right? So this is a competition between them. Likewise, you will see if the trees are not in a position to go little higher, what do they do is they go for a different layer here. They only grow till here. This is called as a young trees, and there will be trees till some 20 meters. There will be trees till 40 meters. Why? It is primarily because competition and those who fail or will not win the competition, they will settle for different colors. Okay? For example, a tree which grows onto the top, that will be usually green in color. Okay? A tree which is present at the bottom, it will not be green in color. It might be yellow. It might be little different colors. It will be there. Reddish green colors will be there. It is because green color leaves, they use chlorophyll, the chlorophyll pigmentation to make their food. But red color and other color leaves, they do not use chlorophyll because sunlight is required in the presence of the water. So that is when they are able to make their food. But now these leaves, they use different processes to make their food. Now come back. So this is how the vegetation is going to be there. But I am more focused on first finishing of this grasslands. We'll first look into the grasslands and then go around. So can I say that grasslands are present in those areas where the water availability is seasonal or less? Yes. Come to the second component, that is the water availability in the temperate grasslands is less or comparatively less, but at the same time the sunlight availability is less. So here Argentina pampas, North America prairies, South Africa velds, steppes, downs. So let me take you and write it here. The temperate grasslands are pampas, prairies, velds, downs, okay, and steppes. This is in Russia, right? So overall, you are going to get to see these are the different types of grasslands. Now let's try to understand the difference between the grasses. The grasses are in the tropical area, the grasses can grow tall, but in the temperate area, the grasses can grow shorter. Who has more sunlight? This has more sunlight. Good sunlight. Who has less sunlight? They have less sunlight. Water availability more or less same. But during the times of winter, this area can see snow. There can be snow over this. But during the times of winter, here there won't be any snow. There won't be much rainfall also. Or else in the times of the dry season, they shed themselves. The dry season, they dry off. And what do? Their seeds will be stored in the soil. Their seeds will be stored in the soil and they'll wait for the next season. As soon as the rain comes in the rainy season, they'll start to germinate again and they grow till 2 meters. So you see, what kind of animals will be there? The kind of animals that are present here are basically grass-eating animals. When you have a grass-eating animal ke piche, let's say zebra is there, it's a grass-eating animal. Elephants are there, that is a grass-eating animal. Likewise, there are animals which are eating grasses, horses are there, cattle are there, sheep will be there. In sub animals ke piche, there will be predators which will come. There might be leopards, there might be tigers, there might be lions. So in these grasslands also you will find these kind of species, right? All of them are interlinked. Now this is what is your vegetation and I'll teach you in detailed manner, but first let's have a look into the chapters. Now come to the class 7. In the class 7, the chapters that are talked about is life in the human environment interactions, in which how the human is interacting with the environment and how is the life in the Amazon basin, how is the life in the rainforest, how is the life in the India, especially the tropical areas, what kind of life you are going to have, life in the Ganga Brahmaputra basin. So these aspects will try to look into the human environment interactions also. And basically major domains of the earth, I think we have already dealt in the previous chapters. That is major environment and domains are, there is lithosphere, there is continents, there is also hydrosphere, there is also atmosphere. A combination of all this together, we'll call this as a biosphere, right? So this is water jahan pe hota hai, this is hydrosphere. Land jahan pe hota hai, this is called as lithosphere. And wherever there is air, that is called as atmosphere. Now what is biosphere? Biosphere is a place where you will get to see all of them at one single place. Now this is very elementary, but today we'll try to look into the interactions of this biosphere and how the interactions between biotic and abiotic components will be there, and what are the factors that are going to influence this particular region, right? This is what is given in this particular chapter. So I don't think I have to go too much detail into this. Where is our stencil? Okay, right? Now come to the chapter number 14. This is one of the most important chapter, that is biodiversity conservation. तो biodiversity कितने levels का होता है, at the same time how many different types of levels of biodiversity is there and how to tackle with that. What are the steps that is taken by the government to deal with that? I'll also add some current affairs so that you will have an idea, right? This is biodiversity chapter which we will be looking into in a detailed manner, right? So one chapter where I should explain you biodiversity conservation, and these are your vegetations, grasslands vegetation, very easy, different types of vegetations I'll also discuss in detail now. Other chapter is life on the earth, that is here you need to know what is ecology. This is one of the most important topics because you need to have a background on the ecology. I'll explain you the backgrounds on ecology in detail. So that is how is life on the ecology का basics क्या है, and what are the different types of ecosystems, what are the different types of structures and functions of an ecosystem. एक ecosystem क्या होता है, and what are the factors that are influencing the ecosystem. Here it says that structures and functions of the ecosystem include biotic factors and abiotic factors. I'll tell you about what are these biotic factors and abiotic factors. Likewise, there are some charts which what are this, how the energy flows across the medium. Now this is one chapter. If you learn this chapter, all the other chapters are set to be learnt in detail, right? So quickly let us go into detail here. The details are nothing but, okay, let's start. Just give me a minute. So I want you to follow this PPT which I am going to drive here, and lastly we'll come to the soil. First, before we start, I want you to know what is a natural capital, what is a natural resource, and what is a natural service. If you know, do you know, or else if you know, let me know. ठीक है? What is natural capital and how is it different from natural service? Right? What is natural capital and how is it different from natural service? See, natural capital means here it can be your natural capital, can be your sun, can be a natural capital, or else if you are using the sun, rays and you are making an energy in the solar panel, that means this energy which you gained is the natural capital, right? Sun rays will be called as natural resource. If suppose you are using a natural resource and making an energy out of it or using for the utilization of the public, this is called as a natural capital, right? Likewise, if you have air, you are using air for some other purposes, maybe oxygen cylinder you are making out of air and using it in the hospital, that oxygen cylinder is a natural capital. See, what is a natural resource? Resource which is available in the atmosphere. Natural capital means if you are using that resource for the utilization of human beings. Now what is a natural service? Natural service means something which purifies natural resource. For example, water is there. Water gets purified through a process called evaporation. That means that evaporation is considered to be a natural, yes, service, natural service, right? Now water is there, water gets purified through natural service. Air also gets purified through multiple ways, that is plants take in carbon dioxide and give out oxygen. In that way air is getting purified, the atmosphere is getting purified through a natural service called photosynthesis. So this is called as natural service. Natural capital is sun, and if you are using that sunlight to make a photovoltaic cell or a solar panel and generate electricity, that is your natural capital. Natural service is maybe in water getting purified and air getting purified is a natural service, right? That is what you need to know. Now the first important factors that you have to learn here are the functions of an ecosystem. See here, it is all about what is an ecosystem and ecology क्या होता है, ecosystem क्या होता है, ये सारे चीज आपको जानना चाहिए. That is specially the structure and functions of the ecosystems in detail. For which, let me show you an image and try to explain you the structures of an ecosystem, right? It is asking about structure of an ecosystem. And before we look into an ecosystem क्या होता है, कहाँ पे originate होता है, let's try to see. Look at this image. ठीक है, look at this image. There are individuals, these small species which are there. Let me call one deer is there, this is an individual, or one human is there, individual. Collection of individuals, collection of human beings, let's say, that is called as population, right? Likewise, collection of different species. There is one deer, one buffalo, and one tiger. Likewise, other species are there. If you calculate them together, that is called as a community, right? This is called as a community. Likewise, what is an ecosystem? Ecosystem means when you have the biotic factors plus abiotic factors of that particular area, you also take into consideration, that becomes an ecosystem. What is the biotic factors? Here you have sunlight, rainfall. Sorry, these are abiotic factors. Likewise, biotic factors are living beings, maybe a tree. You take everything into account, that becomes an ecosystem. Ecosystem is a broader term. And in this ecosystem, you will have water. Earlier, we were not taking water into consideration. Population means it's collection of individuals. Individuals are a one particular species. Community is the collection of different species. Whereas ecosystem, you'll take all the species. Along with that, you'll also take abiotic factors and biotic factors. Abiotic means sunlight is there, clouds are there. Okay? They are abiotic. Whereas biotic matlab species which are there. Now, if you have a similar kind of ecosystem in a larger area, that becomes a biome, right? And biosphere is the place where all of these things are present, right? Biosphere is the place where all of these are present. Can you see here? This is an individual. Group of similar individuals is called as population. And in a community, you have different individuals, collections, and that is your community. When it comes to ecosystem, it includes species, it includes water, it includes plants, it includes sunlight. This is the interaction between abiotic factors and biotic factors is called as an ecosystem, right? And lastly, biome is a similar kind of ecosystem on a larger area, that is called as a biome. Biosphere is the place where all the ecosystems are present. I hope you are clear with this. Yes? Okay. Clear? Now come to the next component. See, the next component is what are the abiotic factors and what are the biotic factors. Abiotic factors means it could be wind, it could be your sunlight, soil bhi hai, temperature bhi hai, atmosphere bhi hai, water bhi hai. Then what are biotic factors? Biotic factors are those which are living beings. Abiotic factors means here wind, sunlight, soil, temperature, atmosphere and water. Biotic factors are this. Now see here, we have learnt about these abiotic factors. The influence of abiotic factors can be there on the plantations as well. Look here, if suppose this is equator, right? Abiotic factors are water, air, soil, sunlight and temperature. The cumulative impact of these will influence what kind of vegetation you are going to have. As I told you, if you are going from equator towards the poles, what kind of vegetation will you be having? See, the latitudinal zonation of the vegetation, if you broadly look into it, will be of this sort. Look here. Near to the equator, you will find very good forest. ये आपका equator है, तो इस equator के पास आपका evergreen forest will be there. And as soon as you come to the areas between the desert area and evergreen for tropical forest area, आपको grasslands देखने के लिए मिलेगा. ठीक है, these are tropical grasslands which I have already told you, that is bunny grasslands in India. If you go to Rajasthan, Rajasthan is the area which is full of desert. Imagine this is your Rajasthan. ठीक है, rest or deciduous area where the availability of rainfall is not much. Always see here, this is your grassland. grassland is a place where availability of water will be high, where there is a place that is availability of water will be high, and there is a place where the water availability is less. It is present in between where there is a place water availability is less and where there is a place where the water availability is more. Your grasslands are present in between, right? Let me show you in the Indian context, where do you find these grasslands? And in the world context also, I'll show you where do you find these grasslands. See, can I say this is the area of your evergreen forest, right? And these are your grasslands, right? And this is your desert. Can I say grasslands are present between desert and evergreen forests? Yes. This is your savanna area. Likewise, you come to India. Where is your bunny grasslands? This is the place where you will find bunny. But these are your deserts. Can I say that the grasslands are present next to the deserts? Yes. But here in this diagram, you need to understand few things. Come back. What am I discussing? I am discussing about the impact of the abiotic factors on the different types of vegetation and the relationship between ecosystem. So in a nutshell, all this impact which you got to see here will lead to different kinds of vegetations latitudinally. So that means the first is tropical forest, you will get to see grasslands, and in fact next to the grasslands this is where you will get to see deserts. But deserts यहाँ पे दिया नहीं है, but इसके बाद होता है deserts, and these are deciduous forest, coniferous forest, tundra and snowline. Snowline is a place where you will not find any kind of plantations, it's only a snow, right? This is your tundra. Tundra में seasonally ice होता है यहाँ पर. Permafrost region will be there for 3 to 6 months, and rest of the region there will be slight growth of vegetation. And you go to the coniferous area where the mountains are there, here you will find coniferous. These are your deciduous forest where the availability of water is seasonal, right? So the leaves, if the tree is there, the tree is going to shed its leaves. So this is how you're going to see. But in this particular diagram, you should also add the deserts also here. Deserts are also present next to the grasslands, like this. The grasslands are, if the grasslands are present here, the deserts are also present next to the grasslands, right? You can also add the deserts in this particular area, right? Okay, this is one way. The relationship of this abiotic factors on the height also you need to know, right? How this relationship on the height is there? See, if you have good amount of sunlight and good rainfall, at the bottom you'll have tropical rainforest, and you go on to the top of the mountains. On top of the mountains you will find the grasslands, then you have deciduous forests, then you have coniferous forests, and little later you will have tundra and then snowfall, right? So all of these aspects will be looking into the further time period. Just be patient for some time. I will be there at that particular topic. So quickly look into this. Finally, what are the biotic factors and abiotic factors? Biotic factors and abiotic factors. Clear? Okay. So now you got to see the biotic and abiotic factors in detail. So let me quickly tell you that these are your biotic factors. Fungi hota hai, all the life forms, and those which are not the life forms, they are considered to be your abiotic factors, right? Now responding on to the biotic factors and abiotic factors, you will have different kinds of living beings. Those which make their own food and those which do not make their own food. If they are making their own food, you'll call them as autotroph. If they are not making as their own food, you'll call them as heterotrophs, right? For example, grasshopper is there. It is going to eat the grass. For example, toads are there. Toads, that is nothing but frogs, they are going to eat the grasshoppers. These are heterotrophs, majorly consumers hota hai. And these are autotrophs, right? Which are going to make their own food. Likewise, these are some of the basics that you are supposed to know. Apart from that, you need to know there are cycles that are present in the atmosphere. Though these are not there in the NCERTs, I am giving you this content because you will have a better understanding about these topics. Right? You will have a better understanding about these topics. Now look onto the diagram that is there here. You will clearly understand that in this particular area, the diagram, I want you to watch this diagram for 10 to 15 seconds, then you will understand in totality. Yes, I think you have now read about this particular slide. See here, in this is the organic matter. Organic matter means it has blood, flesh and other carbon content which is there. If once it is died, the same animal, all the organic matter is given to the plants, and the plants take that, or else it is given to the soil, that is decomposed, and the same nitrogen which is there in its body, sugar which is there in the body, oxygen which is there in the body, other chemicals which are there in this particular body are given to the soil, and the same soil is again utilized for the growth of the crops. In the nutshell, the materials which are there on the surface of the earth or within the surface of the earth, they are always moving in a cyclical manner, right? This is also an important component of an ecosystem, right? So here, can I say that this is an example of carbon cycle? What do you mean by carbon cycle here? Carbon cycle means the carbon in this body, once it is dead, it is given to the soil utilized it, and from the soil, it is again given to the plants. Plants take up the content of the carbon again. It's not just about carbon, it is also about nitrogen fixation, it is also about other entities which are there. Very, very basic content that is there. Now, with this, I'll move into the exact content that you are supposed to learn here. See, there is an energy cycle, right? There is always an energy cycle, and this energy cycle you need to know. In the atmosphere, or else combination of atmosphere, biosphere, in the combination of atmosphere, lithosphere and hydrosphere, you have biosphere. Within the biosphere, there are different kinds of species that you will get to see. Now these different kinds of species are one, or you are those which make their own food, and those which are dependent upon their others. For example, let's take trees are there. Trees are going to make their own food, right? Now the food that is there, they are called as producers, and the food that is there, it will be eaten by the consumers, right? Consumers, if they die, they will be eaten by decomposers. Who are these decomposers? These decomposers are none other than your cockroaches. You hate cockroaches. Your ants, they also eat the dead. Crows, vultures, eagles. So they are also decomposers or dead tree borers, something which is eating the dead and something which is eating the non-dead, or else both living and the dead. That is what is called as decomposers. Now come to lastly, all these minerals, they are again sent into the atmosphere. In a nutshell, how the energy is transferred from one place to another place, that is what you need to know. Look here. Let us take a condition, better one, I'll show you. Just give me a minute. The nutrient cycle, how does the nutrient cycle works? Just give me a minute. Okay, come back. So here you need to know how the nutrient cycle works. See, you know that Imagine the total amount of energy which is given by the sun is 1000 units, let's say. Out of this 1000 units, only 1/10 of it is consumed by the next particular tropic level, right? So this energy is given to the plants, right? This energy is given to the plants, and if this plant gets fruit, this fruit is eaten by this particular man, and from here again decomposition shall takes place. I wanted to show the same thing in a different manner. Just give me a minute. See here. Look at this diagram. This will explain you in a lot better. This is not there in the NCERT, so I have extracted from elsewhere. So see, sun is the ultimate source of the energy. Sun's heat is given to the plants. Plants made their own food, and these plants will be eaten by caterpillars, right? Caterpillars are eaten by the crows or any other species, parrots, parrots and other pigeons, whatever it is. Now this first, the scale of birds which are there, they will be eaten by the next species, that is your vultures or eagles. Once they die, they are decomposed by the bacteria that is helpful in the decomposition, that is called as detrivores. And finally, there is some amount of energy which is lost in every stage. For example, let's say the total amount of energy which is received by, let's say the total amount of energy which is received by this particular plant is 1000 units, right? And the plant also grows, it utilizes some amount of energy. If from this layer to the next trophic level, or else this is called as tropic level, this is one tropic level. When the food is transferred from one tropic level to another tropic level, the energy is lost, right? The energy is lost and some amount of energy is gained. Here the total amount of energy that is gained by the next tropic level is only 1/10. Okay? That means out of 100, what is the energy that will be received by this caterpillar? It is only 1/10 of it, that is your 100, right? This is the energy. Now from here, if this is taken by the next tropic level, in between there is some amount of energy that is lost in the form of heat. Always the energy is lost in the form of heat. You can ask me, sir, what is this energy? How is it lost? See, if sunlight is giving 1000 units into the atmosphere, this sunlight, it is also utilized by this plant to grow itself. This sunlight is utilized by the plant to grow itself. In order to grow itself, it has utilized some amount of energy and some amount of heat is released. This heat is released in the form of respiration. Heat is released in the form of the photosynthesis here. The photosynthesis process, it is taking in carbon dioxide and it is giving out oxygen. For this, there is some amount of energy that is being utilized, right? That energy is always calculated in the form of heat. So यहाँ से some amount of heat is lost from one level to another tropic level. Always the heat is lost and the energy is gained by another one. Like that, you will come across the total amount of heat that is, or energy that is being transferred from one tropic level to another tropic level is that, if suppose you have 10,000 units of energy with the grass, okay, grass, if it is consumed by the caterpillar is only going to get 1000. If caterpillar is eaten by a bird, it only gets 100. If this bird is eaten by a vulture or another, it is only getting 10. Right? Always the highest amount of energy is with the autotrophs. As it goes across the tropic level, the energy is lost. Only 1/10 of the energy is transferred and rest of the 9/10 is lost in the form of heat. That heat is always measured in the form of respiration or the processes that are used by the plants. Right? Are you clear with this? This is also the fundamentals of an ecology. Now see, here you need to know some ecological principles that are very, very important for the understanding of the ecosystem, the structure of the ecosystem. Right? Now this structure of the ecosystem, they take different types of interactions. Now those kind of interactions are something which you need to know. Now let me explain you these kind of interactions. See, there are multiple species that you will find in an ecosystem, right? You already know what is an ecosystem. The ecosystem is nothing but where you get to see different set of species. there are multiple species, different species, right? And in this you add abiotic factors plus biotic factors, this becomes an ecosystem. And in this ecosystem there are certain kinds of interactions that you need to know. Very easy these interactions are, and these interactions are in such a way, if one species is benefiting the other species, this is species 1 and this is species 2. If they both benefit each other, this is called as mutualism. If one species benefit and other species is getting harmed, then this is called as competition, right? Sorry, if one species is getting benefited and other species is not getting benefited, this is nothing but your amensalism. Just a minute here, let me recheck this. Okay, let's do with examples so that you will not be confused. Look here, look at this. There is a fish is eaten by the leeches. So here, do you say this particular species is getting positive, that means it is getting benefited on this, and this species is having a negative interaction? The interaction between them is positive versus negative, right? This is positive and negative, one is getting benefited and other is getting loss in this condition. And look at this interaction, this particular interaction where you have an ox or else this rhino. There are birds are eating the food on the rhino skin and it is cleaning the rhino skin. At the same time, rhino is also getting a benefit from this particular bird. Whenever there is an animal that is going to come and attack, the bird will shout or bird will give a different kinds of indication that you are under attack. So it is also getting a benefit in the times of security. Here this is also positive, this interaction is positive and this interaction is also positive. So this is called as positive interaction is called as mutualism. Whereas one species is having negative and other species is having positive, this is called as predation or parasitism. The fish and the leeches, this is called as predation or parasitism, right? I'm sorry, mistook this. Now let me correct it. If one species is positive and the other species is negative, if one species is positive gets positive, other species is negative, this is called as predation and this is called as parasitism, right? Now come to the commensalism, amensalism and competition. Let me try to show it to you here. Look at this. What kind of an interaction is this? See, here the crocodile has opened its mouth. Why did the crocodile open its mouth? Because after having a good food, the crocodile wants little heat in its body to be released, so it will keep open its mouth. Now the bird comes, bird will start to eat the food or the flesh which is present in the teeth of the crocodile. So here the crocodile is also getting benefited by this bird is cleaning the teeth, right? The bird is getting benefited by the flesh which is present in the teeth, it is acting as a food to the bird. So this is positive interaction. This is positive and for this is also positive. Can I say this is a mutualism? Yes, this type of interaction is called as mutualism. Now likewise, you see here, this is called as commensalism. Commensalism means one species is getting positive and other species is not getting anything out of it. Let's say, look at this ox and egret is the bird. When the ox eats the grass is pulled from the ground, so small ticks and other species will be thrown out. When the small ticks and other species are thrown out, here this bird starts to eat the ticks. So in this interaction, the bird gets positive. It's a positive interaction for the bird and it's a negative interaction for the it's no interaction for the cow. So this is called as commensalism, in which cow do not get any benefit but the bird gets the benefit, that is positive benefit. This is called as commensalism, right? Likewise, there are also other aspects that, see here, tiger hunts, jackal follows, and whatever the tiger whatever it has hunt, jackal, what does it do? It gets some of its share and it runs away. So it is also a positive for the jackal, and sometimes negative, but most of the times after the tiger eats, then the whatever is left, this is eaten by it. In this is positive and that has no impact. This is also commensalism, right? So these are some of the interactions. Now coming to the examples of amensalism. See, amensalism here is a different interaction where one species is having negative. Okay, look at this amensalism. One species is having negative interaction and other species is having no impact, 0 and negative. This interaction is called as amensalism, right? So here, one thing, look at the amensalism aspect. Algal bloom. Algal bloom can lead to the death of many species of fish and other animals. However, the algae do not benefit from the death of these individuals. Is the algae getting any benefit? No, but it is having a negative impact on the fish. If the nutrients are more in the water, the algae blooms out. It becomes algal bloom. But when the fish is there, this fish gets dead. So it's a negative interaction for the fish, and for the algae, it is no loss, no profit, right? So this interaction is called as amensalism. In a nutshell, the total interactions in an ecosystem are of this type, this particular type, right? So now let's quickly go to the NCERT and try to see what exactly is written. That is structure and functions of the ecosystem. We have seen abiotic factors kya hota hai. We have also seen biotic factors kya hota hai. And we have also seen the energy transfer. Energy transfer is nothing but how does the energy moves from producers to primary consumers, secondary consumers, tertiary consumers. When they die, they're dead and decomposers. So here, of all of these species, in my opinion, the decomposers or the detrovirus are the most important species. For example, ants come to your home. You do not want the ants to be in your home, right? But you need to know that the ants come to your home to clean something you are not in a position to clean. Or else there is vultures. If there are vultures in the ecosystem, they are considered to be very good because vultures go and clean the dead and decay, right? Natural cleansers they are called. Cockroaches also, they are not natural cleansers, but you don't like them in your home, right? So in fact, they have the highest value. This detrovirus or something which eats the dead and something which eats the living, you have to give them a higher priority in the ecosystem. You have to keep them at the higher strata, right? Because something which eats the dead and living, they are the ones who are cleansers. Imagine I have washed off all the vultures from the earth. What happens if I am washing all the vultures of the earth from the earth? Is there anyone who is going to eat the dead and decay? No. So the animals will start to decompose, and if half decomposed, then new diseases will come and a COVID-like situation can also be there, right? Species are very, very important. Now come to the next important aspect, that is in this particular aspect, you need to know about the ecological interactions that we have already done, and this is a very basic content. I want you to go towards the different kinds of vegetation and the species that are present in India. These biogeochemical cycles are very easy here. It's just give a quick reading. It's nothing but how the carbon dioxide is moving in the atmosphere. For example, photosynthesis there. For example, how the carbon is moving. I already have shown you an image that if a species is dead, the carbon in the species is given to the plants through the decomposition in the soil. These are very, very easy aspects. I don't think they need an explanation. The explanation that is required for you is actually in areas where that is the natural vegetation and wildlife in India. So this is something which you will not get that in the NCERT. So what I am going to do is I am going to show you how this vegetation and animals and wildlife and soils are interlinked with each other. Look here. As you are imagine this is your earth. Now what kind of vegetation you will be having, that will be decided by the biotic and abiotic factors, right? So tropical rainforests are in those areas where you will have good amount of sun, heat should be there. That is heat plus rain. Heat and rain should be high. For suppose if you are having only heat but no water, then you will have desert, right? If you are having heat but no water, then you will have desert. Now imagine this is the side where the sun is there, that means good amount of heat is there, and also there is availability of water. When you have heat and water good, then you will have tropical rainforests. Let's say that the heat is there, now heat also reduced and water also reduced. Heat also reduced, water also reduced, then here you will have deciduous forests. Okay? This entire area is temperate area. Now first let me demarcate, then you will have a better idea. See, let me use different colors to this. Look here, this part of the area is tropical and this part of the area is temperate and this part of the area is cold temperate. That means 45 to 60, and this part of the area is cold, extremely cold. This is 60 degrees north and this is 45 degrees north. This is 30 degrees to 45 degrees north, right? This is near to 5 degrees north to, this is how the tropical latitudes are there, right? I am demarcating the earth. Where do you find what kind of vegetation? This is how you are supposed to know, right? Look here. First, suppose if you are having good rainfall and good heat, I told you only the heat, that is sunlight, is the one which is going to grow the trees. If there is no sunlight, will there be any vegetation? There won't be any vegetation because there is no process of photosynthesis. That's why the availability of sunlight in the North Pole area, you will have 6 months of sunlight and 6 months of darkness. Even the sunlight that is there, the amount of energy that is there in the sunlight is not sufficient for the plants to grow its trees, right? So in a nutshell, this is where you're going to have, where the water is well and the heat is there, tropical evergreen forest. And you reduce the water, there is good amount of heat in this part of the layer, but you reduce the water, this is where you will get to see deciduous forest. This will be your tropical deciduous, right? So look here, this will be your tropical deciduous. Then you reduce the water in that particular area, this will become your grasslands. These are tropical grasslands. Right? Then you reduce the complete water availability in that part of the area, that will become desert. So can I say, where the availability of sunlight is very good and the water is good, then the growth of the plantation and vegetation is very well, and availability of sunlight is there, no water, it is desert. Likewise, you go to temperate regions. Let's imagine that this is the area where you will get to see temperate deciduous forest, because in the temperate area the availability of sunlight is little less. Okay? Sunlight bhi decrease ho raha hai. And if the water availability is there and sunlight is limited, the trees will grow, but trees will now be having different colors. Why different colors? Because unke paas chlorophyll nahi hota, they cannot convert the food or the available sunlight into the food. So that's why they use different colors, they use different pigment. इसलिए tropical deciduous forest में अलग अलग color देखने के लिए मिलता है. You get different colors in this temperate regions. Then come to the chaparral region. Chaparral region is a temperate area itself, within which you will have mixed forests will be there. Their height is not too much because sunlight is limited and water availability is also limited. As the water availability is little more reduced, here you will get temperate grasslands. And finally, temperate deserts when the water availability is completely less. Right? Now go to little higher regions. Same. Water availability is completely less and full of coldness, then that is your cold desert. If water availability is there, here as the height is increased, the tree vegetation will be of coniferous trees. And this coniferous trees, you might be asking, sir, why is this coniferous trees are thick and evergreen? See, basically what happens is that ये जो पेड़ है ना, this tree will not shed its leaves. This tree will not shed its leaves. Why is it not shedding its leaves? Because See, for a tree to shed its leaves and regrow, it need to have a very good sunlight season. As already the availability of sunlight is there for only for few months, and vegetation is good, so these particular trees have adapted to such a type of condition where during the times of summer they'll grow, and during the times of winter they won't grow. Rather, they will be needles. Here they won't have leaves, right? There will be needles. The needles will be covered with ice. So they will not grow during the times of winter. Only when the summer comes, they grow, and they don't shed their leaves. So this is a unique adaptation which you're getting to see in the polar regions, near to the polar regions, high altitude regions. Now go to the polar regions. Here you give water or no water, but there is no availability of sunlight. So it is almost tundra. Some grasses will be there, almost permanently dry. Now this is how you're going to see the vegetation. Your animals are also dependent. You go to tropical evergreen vegetation. In the evergreen vegetation, there are different layers. When you have different layers, different species will be there. That's why diversity of the species is very high here, right? Now go to this part of the area, only polar bear can be there. You can see in the southern hemisphere, penguins can be there, जिसके पास बहुत बड़ा fat है. और ये fat उनको चाहिए. The fat is required to them. To have that fat, they have to eat so much. Now, what animals do they eat? See, in order to adapt these species, they also behave differently. The adaptation of the species is also completely different. You'll be surprised to know that the adaptation for the polar bears in the part of the northern hemisphere, what do they do is, look at this. This bear, grizzly bear, in the northern regions, what does it do is, it eats these small moths, which is size of this, my thumb mein hada thumb hai. So this kind of species, every day 15,000 it will eat for next 2 months, and then it will go and sleep for almost 3-4 months. Why, you know? Because winter is coming. In winter there won't be any species that will be survived. It knows that it won't get food, because all the species are going to go for hibernation. So this species will also go for hibernation. Just before the onset of the winter, they know that sunlight won't be there, grasses won't be there. Grasses खाने के लिए there won't be other species which will be coming. So it will not get food to eat the other animals. So that's why it will choose this particular Antheria moth, and this moth will be eaten by almost 15,000 moths daily. It will eat, and it will store the fat, because this particular species has more than 70 to 80% of the fat in its body, and it will go and shut itself for 3 to 4 months. It will just lie down और कुछ नहीं करेगा क्योंकि एनर्जी सेव करना चाहता है. This is the way the species which are there in the polar region, they try to adapt to themselves. So in this manner, you'll get to see different kinds of vegetation. And I already told you there are different grasslands. These grasslands are nothing but, you'll get to see that here, these are the various forests where you'll get to see temperate rainforest, tropical grasslands, temperate grasslands, tropical rainforest, temperate deciduous forest, chaparral vegetation kahan pe hota hai, tundra and ice and taiga, right? It is also there in the NCERTs as well. But my interest is grasslands. Questions can come in the grasslands. Look here. I told you these are your tropical grasslands which are having a height of 3 to 4 meters. Look here. This is also a grass, but it is grown till 3-4 meters, right? This is also a grass which is grown for 1.5 to 2 meters. जहाँ giraffes होता है. Giraffes खाने के लिए you'll have other lions will be coming behind. So the ecosystem will be different. The species will be different. And here the grasslands are, look here. This is your prairies. This is your Andes mountains. And this is your Campos. Right? This is steppes. This is also steppes. This is velds. And this is downs. Right? Likewise, the names that I have written earlier, I am just showing it to you on the map. You have grasslands of the world. This is prairies. This is pampas. This is savannas. This is steppes. Right? Again, you have your pampas and downs in Australia also. You'll have, here is the place where you'll have downs. Right? Now come to tundra. Tundra is the region where the species which you got to see in tundra are of these type. They are very unique, right? This is your tundra, Arctic tundra region. यहाँ पे कौन सा species होता है? In the Arctic tundra, the species are very unique species, that is animals with thick fat. These are the species. Polar bear hai, yak hai, snow leopard hai, right? Walrus hai, right? These are some of the species. You need not remember all of them, just you need to know that they are having thick fat. Now come to desert type of vegetation. In the desert type of vegetation, you do not have leaves. Why don't you have leaves? Because they store the water in the stems. Agar leaves hai, leaf will be wide and they have to evaporate. There won't be evaporation, right? So that's why in order to store the water, they have thick stems and leaves will be absent. The roots will be very deep, and the roots will be very, very deep. And all the deserts across the globe, they'll be having such a kind of vegetation, right? You go to deserts in USA, you have the Arizona desert. You come to South America, you have Atacama desert, Sahara desert in Africa. You come to Namib and Kalahari desert here. Then you go to the Gobi desert and Manchurian desert here. Come to India, Thar desert and Taklamakan desert in the west, little Pakistan side, and Arabian desert. So all these deserts, they have unique vegetation which is having of this type, where their roots will be deeper, and this is how the adaptations of vegetations are there, right? Clear? Look here, this is an example of evergreen vegetation where layers are there, canopy layers are there, right? When you have this canopy layers, some species will be at the bottom, some species will be at the top, and they will dominate this region, they will dominate this region. They avoid competition. Now some species will say, I'll not come to your area, you don't come to my area. Let's avoid competition, because competition is always negative interaction. So in this manner, the interactions will be there, right? Clear? Now these are some of the major species that you will come across. And when it comes to India also, I wanted to show you a few species which are present in the Himalayan regions. Our species which are present in India are completely different. You go to the species, this particular lion-tailed macaque. This is a lion-tailed macaque. This macaque is found only in the Tamil Nadu, Nilgiri forest. Tamil Nadu mein milta hai. This is lion-tailed macaque. Lion-tailed macaque. Human interactions ki karan they are getting exploited in these days. Now look, this is Nilgiri tar. Again, this is also a species which is present only in the southern regions, Nilgiri regions mein milta hai. It is not found anywhere else. Endemic kaha jata hai. Likewise, this is your Malabar giant squirrel, which is also present in the Malabar region. In the southern region, giant squirrel bada hota hai. Likewise, elephants are widely present in the southern regions. And these are some of the native species to India. This is your species, hornbill species, which is present in Nagaland and which is also present in the Western Ghats area. This hornbill, what does it do is, it carry these fruits. Half it will eat and half it will throw elsewhere. It will store these fruits and seeds in its throat, and it wants to give it to the next of its kin. So what does it do is, while it is carrying, half of it will be lost in the forest, and this will help to give the forest a wide, different varieties of trees will be grown. Now this is crimson butterfly. This is also present in the southern part of India. Likewise, there are unique species which are present in the few areas itself. These are called as endemic species. In India you will find them, nowhere else you will find them, right? So likewise, the species are very unique to India. For example, these are wild ass. In the desert you go, desert of India, this is a wild ass species you will find only in the desert area, right? So this is Karai camel, which is present in the desert regions, right? In totality, these are the major species that you are supposed to know. Now, it is also talking about the biodiversity. Biodiversity conservation is also something which you need to understand. This is just a PPT which I have made it for the advanced batch, but I am also using it here so that I wanted to tell you how we are going to learn in the advanced classes, where we will be trying to understand each and everything in a detailed manner, right? So all the species which are there we'll be looking into in the advanced classes. Different kinds of species we shall be looking into in the advanced classes, right? Now come back. I wanted to cover the soils also here, because soils are something which can be related with biogeography itself, right? In India, what are the different types of soils are there? What are the different kinds of factors which are influencing the soils? That is also very, very important. Now look, soils in India are also determined by what kind of rocks, what kind of rainfall you have, how much amount of vegetation you have. They are always interlinked. It is on the basis of sunlight, on the basis of the availability of natural resources, their parent material. But first let us try to understand how are soils formed and what is soil. Soil is nothing but the disintegration of the rock. What is rock? We have studied in the previous classes. Rock means it is the collection of minerals. Minerals are collection of elements, right? So likewise, how soils are formed? Look here, soils are formed through various factors. Initially, there is a parent rock. What is this parent rock? Let's imagine this could be any rock. We have already seen you have igneous rock, you also have metamorphic rock, you have sedimentary rock, whatever the rock it might be. This rock will be subjected to abiotic factors such as sunlight, rainfall, and other geomorphic processes. Over a period, it will get disintegrated, and this disintegrated material might be transported, or else in the same place, further disintegration will lead to the first layer, that is your A horizon, right, and C horizon. Within the soil, if you take a depth of 1 meter or 2 meters and measure what kind of layers you have, they are called as soil horizons. So if you collectively look into this, is called as a profile, right? You have a soil profile, you have a soil horizon. In the soil horizons, the first soil horizon is your C horizon, which is formed disintegration of the rocks. After this disintegration, the finer particles will be settling on the top, and then the growth of the plants will be there. They'll be growing little more deeper and they disintegrate. Finally, a well matured soil has A layer, B layer, and then C layer. A layer is considered to be topsoil, B is called as subsoil, and C is the place where the parent rock is still undergoing the disintegration. If suppose nutrients in the A layer can come to the B layer, and B layer se thoda niche bhi aa sakta hai, sometimes they can be washed off. Finally, the formation of the soils are because of abiotic and biotic factors. Now let's try to understand what are these factors. First thing is parent material. This is the parent material, and from there it can be formed. The second factor and multiple factors that are there that you need to know here are: number one, the parent material. See, look at this parent material. You have learnt about basaltic rock. You have also learnt about the granitic rock, right? You have learnt about the various parent materials. A same parent material under different climatic conditions can give different soils. In India, you have multiple soils. Multiple soils means you can have a red soil. The different kinds of soils are: in India, you can have red soil. This is your red soil. You have red soil. You have black soil, you have laterite soil, this is black, you have mountain soil, and you have alluvial soil. Like this, you have different types of soils. All of the soils have their own parent material. What is that parent material? Let's try to look into it. And how does that parent material can give you two different types of soils? See, the parent material of this black soil and the laterite soil is basalt rock, basaltic rock. And I have already told you in the rock chapter, this basaltic rock is the one which is cooled at the surface, that is fast cooling hota hai ye, extrusive rock hai ye. So if suppose, let's see, how does the role of climate plays a vital role in deciding what kind of soil you'll have. So the first factor is climate. Look at this. The factor that decides the type of a soil is climate. Temperature and rainfall can influence the rate at which parent rock is broken down by weathering, which you already know what is weathering. Hot climates experience chemical weathering, and cold climates experience freezing and thawing. This we have seen in the previous classes. But now come, look here. This is your basalt. This is your basalt. This basaltic rock which is there, if you give the climatic conditions, suppose the climate, if it is hot and wet, and it is hot and dry, हॉट एंड वेट मतलब जहां पे बारिश भी है एंड धूप भी है. अंडर सच सर्कमस्टेंसेस दिस सॉइल विल बिकम लैटराइट. ठीक है. वेट मतलब रेन ज्यादा होना चाहिए, हॉट मतलब हीट होना चाहिए. द सेम रॉक अंडर द प्रेजेंस ऑफ hot and wet, that is heat and rain, it will convert itself into laterite type of soil. But the same rock under hot and dry, मतलब heat होगा no rain or less rain, no or less rain, you will get to see this particular rock to be black soil. This is your black soil. That means hot and wet in the basaltic rock will give you laterite soil. The same rock under hot and dry conditions, it will give you black soil. Now let's go and check. See here. Basaltic rock, dry climate in the Deccan Plateau forms black soil, and basaltic rock in the hot climate, which is with humid climate, that is rain climate, it will give you laterite type of soil. Now let's go and see where do you find this laterite soil and where do you find this black soil. See, though the color differentiation is there, one is black and one is laterite. So this is how the soil gets its color from its parent material and other abiotic factors. Likewise, your red soil which is there, the red soil is coming from granite. This is your granitic soil. Okay, granitic soil and gneiss in South India gives rise to red soil. Okay, this is how you'll get to see the formations of red soil. That means parent material plays a vital role here. And let's go and check where do you find this black soil. The black soil is found in areas of Deccan Plateau. Well, these are the areas of the black soil. This is present in the Deccan Plateau. Now here, this is laterite soil. That means इस एरिया में बारिश ज्यादा होना चाहिए. सॉरी, दिस इज ब्लैक सॉइल. दिस एरिया में बारिश कम है. बारिश कहां पे ज्यादा है? बारिश इज मोर in the areas of this region. This is your laterite soil. This is laterite soil. This is laterite soil. These are the pockets of laterite soil, and this is the pockets of laterite soil where you're having good rainfall and good heat. Right? Come back. Now come to the second aspect. That is, how does the animals help in making the soil? The animals also play a vital role in making the soil. The animals, what does they do? They burrow it. Burrow the soil, they disintegrate the soil, they mix the parent material. Sedimentary rocks which are there, they are getting mixed, and sometimes the mixture of parent materials will give you different types of soil. This is the action of animals. Likewise, there is action of species within the interior, microorganisms as well. Look, if you are having the dead and decay material, or else leaf litter is there, if it is not decomposed, the soil quality will not be good. But let's say there is decomposition of soil through microorganisms. Look at the soil. The soil gets air and the soil will get mixed well. Right? So in this manner, the bioturbation also plays a vital role. The bioturbation also plays a vital role. Next is the topography. Topography also plays a vital role in what kind of a soil you will have. See, if there is good amount of rainfall, all the soil will come and deposit at the mountain foot. So the depth of the mountain foot soil will be more, right? All the soil, average soil depth will be more, and here the depth of the soil will be less and nutrients will be washed off. So there are multiple factors that are helping in the decision of the formation of what kind of a soil you'll have. And broadly speaking, in India, you have majority of the soils are of different types. But before that, let me tell you what are the layers in which you will find. How many layers are there in a soil profile? See, this is a block of a soil. Imagine that this is 10 meters. Just a minute. Just give me a minute. Okay. See here. Imagine this is the profile of the soil. In the profile of the soil, the top layer is called as O horizon, जहाँ पे leaf, litter, सारे materials एक जगह होता है, right? That is your profile of the soil. Just give me a minute. Okay, thank you. Now, next layer is called as A layer, which we have already seen, that is called as topsoil. And beneath you'll have B layer. The layer between A and B is called as E. E means elevated horizon. Elevated horizon means sometimes the materials or the soil nutrients which are there, they'll be deposited on the lower end. Okay? This is called as E layer. E layer means elevation, means the layer of A nutrients will be coming down at the bottom, that is called as E. B layer is called as the subsoil. E layer, E is elevated. Elevated means the downward percolation of the nutrients of the A soil can be seen in the B soil, right? B layer is called as a horizon, that is B horizon of subsoil. And C is the parent material, and E or R, sometimes here E is there, sometimes R is there, this is called as the bedrock, right? C is the parent material, and B is called as the subsoil, right? So here you need to learn one thing, that is the nutrients in this part of the layer, they can be percolated downward, sometimes to E layer or sometimes to B layer, right? Sometimes to E layer or sometimes to B layer. If suppose there are certain nutrients such as ferrous plus aluminium, if they are percolated downward, okay? Ferrous plus aluminium, if they are percolated downward or else they have moved downward, that is called as leaching. They have moved towards the lower layers of the soil, or they have washed away from that particular area, that is called as leaching. So in the laterite soil, what do you get to see is that the ferrous and aluminium will be leached and the lime and the silica will be left on the top layer. Okay? The ferrous and aluminium will be leached out and the lime and the silica will be left in the topsoil, right? So that is called as your laterite soil. Look here, this is laterite soil. Ferrous and aluminium will be moved downward. Lime and silica will be left over on the top, right? So laterite soil looks like this. The soil is extremely beneficial for the growth of tea, coffee, right? Tea and coffee will be grown. And grown, it is good for tea, coffee, plantation crops, क्योंकि बारिश भी ज़्यादा है, right? Sunlight will also be there. And tea, coffee needs more than 200 centimeters of rainfall. Next type of soil is black soil, which we have already seen. It is grown in the conditions of a hot climate where the rainfall is limited. That's why cotton is grown in wide area. Cotton is widely grown in these areas, right? Black cotton soil. Come to alluvial soil. We have already seen this. We will be seeing this alluvial soil in the further classes of Indian geography. I'll tell you how they are formed in a detailed manner, but just have an idea. They are present in the northern part of India. Basically, these alluvial soils are formed by the depositions of the mountains. Mountains, what do? Is they bring all the depositions through the river and they deposit at the lower layers. For example, you see, you have your mountain Himalayas here. Let's say these are your Himalayas, right? And these Himalayas, there are rivers that are coming and getting deposited. They deposit the material at the lower end. So this is the area where you will find the finer sediments. These finer sediments are none other than your alluvial soil, right? So it is basically a sedimentary soil which is being bought by the sediments material from the Himalayas are being bought by the rivers. Finer material are deposited here and they are the finest soil where you can grow any crop, okay? Any crop can be grown, and mostly rice, wheat, paddy and other sugarcane crops are also grown in this particular area, okay? So next is red soil. See, the red soil is primarily formed because of the process called diffusion. The materials in this soil move from high concentration to low concentration. Iron oxides can also be seen here. So if you are having irrigation facilities to this soil, this soil will become fertile, right? To the same soil, you add water. you give water to this soil instead of red, it will turn yellow. Your yellow soil and red soil have the same parent material, that is your granite. This is your granite or gneiss. Granite or gneiss together or else individually, if they are disintegrated, they will lead to the formations of red soil. If you are giving irrigation, they will be fertile. If you are not giving irrigation, they will not have nutrition, right? The red soils are mostly loamy and cannot retain water, but with the proper use of fertilizers and irrigation techniques, it can give good yield of cotton, wheat, rice, pulses, millets, tobacco, oilseeds and potato. Not just this, there are other crops are also that can be grown in a detailed area. Come to arid soils. See, these arid soils are areas where jahan pe pani nahi hota, where the availability of water is very less. In this lack of availability of the water, especially in the deserts, you will get to see this soil. Next is forest soil. It is found in areas where the forests are there, they'll throw the leaf and litter, bioturbation will always be inactive. This is where the slopes are used to be of horticulture and plantation crops like tea, coffee, spices, apple, peach, etc. can be grown. Right? These are your forest soils. And look into the soils area. The soils area here is, this is the area of black soil. Let me show it to you with stencil. This is the area of black soil. In the further classes, when I talk about rainfall, the rainfall is very less. Less rainfall will be there. And here you have very good rainfall. Right? Here also you have a decent amount of moisture. This is forest soil. This is semi-arid soil. When I talk about the theme number 10, that is when you are going to have a beautiful clarity on this. Until then, I would recommend you to watch the theme number 10 first and then come back to theme number 8. It will give you a beautiful understanding to these topics. Right? So this is black soil, jahan pe barish kam hota hai. The barish is almost 100 centimeters or less. And this is the area where 250 centimeters of rainfall can be seen in laterite. And these are the areas where you'll get to see 100 odd centimeters. And this is the area less than 100 or 100. This is 100 to 200 centimeters you will get to see in the red soil area. And alluvial soils where the availability of water is good, right? Black soil is the area where heat is very high, right? So cotton can be grown there. So in the nutshell, this is how the soil is distributed. In the mountains, it is forest and mountain soil. Rajasthan desert, arid soil. Ganga plains and Brahmaputra plains, you will have here a very good amount of soil of alluvial. Red soil is a place where granite was present and disintegrated into the parent material got disintegrated and finally the formations of soil has taken place. Here the soil is of red, iron oxides can be seen and also the process of diffusion can be seen here. Black soil, heat but no water. Laterite soil, heat and water dono hai. If the red soil is given water, it will turn yellow, right? This is what you need to know about the basics of the soil. And see, in the further classes you will get to learn about the various vegetation associated with these soils as well, right? Vegetation associated with these soils. And here once I wanted you to link up this with the rainfall. Look here, this is the map of the rainfall and this is the map of the soil. Map of the rainfall here says number 1, above 400 centimeters of rainfall, these are the areas of above 400 centimeters. Now what kind of soil you have? Laterite soil. Look here, these are the areas which are having a rainfall of 100 to 200 centimeters of rainfall. This is 100 to 200. Now can I say you have red soil here and some parts of the alluvial soil? This alluvial is because the river is coming and depositing the material, right? But majorly water rainfall will also define. In the further topics, you learn about topography. On one side you have Western Ghats, on other side you have Eastern Ghats. This is something which you are going to learn in the next theme. So once, please go back and watch the theme number 10 or 9 and come back and spend the last 30 minutes of this class. You will have a beautiful understanding of it. Or else at the end of the geography, you are going to get a complete picture. Right? At the end of the geography, you will get complete picture. And if you do have any suggestions to me, you can also drop me a message. I'll be very happy to take your suggestions. And In the further classes, I shall be giving you in a detailed manner about the India, and this is a brief introduction of the soils. I know this is one chapter where the interconnections are required. That's why I've been jumping from one topic to another topic, ताकि ऐसे ही पढ़ना होता है ये chapter, right? Soils मान के चलो या biogeography मान के चलो, the vegetation मान के चलो, interlinkage should be there. The chapters that you read in NCERTs, they are not sufficient to clear the examination. You definitely need to have an understanding beyond. Whatever I've taught you here in this class, we are going to spend in the advanced classes for 4 to 5 days, where I'll be talking about the various forest, vegetation, interlinkage, topography, India, and in totality, we'll also solve some questions there. Today we'll stop here, and in tomorrow's or the further sessions which you're going to watch, in that I'll give you a more elaborated content with respect to Indian geography. And in the further classes, I shall be seeing you. And for those students who would like to opt for geography as an optional, you can directly get in touch with me. That is 7382552230. This is my contact number. And my name is Madhusudan Reddy, and I shall be seeing you in the further classes. Thank you.